Estimados Exatex, me da gusto saludarles. Para mí es un honor estar con Liz Wiseman. Ella es escritora de un bestseller que seguramente ustedes lo conocen, se llama Miltipliers, y trata sobre la importancia de convertirnos como líderes en multiplicadores de la esencia de la gente que colabora con nosotros. Y de eso es lo que hoy nos va a platicar Liz. Liz, thank you very much for being with us. And I would like you to share how to become a multiplier when you deal with a team.
Yeah, Javier, thanks. I studied a type of leader who gets just a lot of capability from people around them, and it really began with this observation that a lot of leaders are really intelligent, but the people around them aren't encouraged to use their full intelligence. They're not seeing the full capability of their team, and we find that on average, across managers in the corporate world, they're using less than 2/3 of the capability of people around them. So, what that's saying to me is, we're spending 10 pesos, but we're really only getting back 6 or 7 pesos of value in our organization. So essentially there's this huge latent intelligence. And the kind of leader that I studied and that I've written about is, a leader that I call a multiplier. And a multiplier is someone who uses his or her intelligence to amplify the intelligence of people around them. And essentially the promise of being a multiplier is that people around you do their very best work and they get smarter and more capable. They'll give you everything that they've got. And when I looked at these multipliers, what I found is their orientation isn't themselves. Their leadership model isn't, how do I get what's in my head and push that out to my team? What they do is they use their intelligence to ask the right question, to challenge their team in the right way. They push ownership to other people so that people feel pressure to do their very, very best work. And if there was a starting point for leading like a multiplier, I certainly wouldn't recommend that someone read the book and try to implement everything that's inside the book. It's the path to becoming a multiplier is to start by becoming less of a diminisher. What might I be doing that's having a diminishing impact? We found that much of what people do is accidental. Maybe they're trying to share their ideas to stimulate other ideas, but it's shutting people down. Maybe they're trying to motivate their team when really all they need to do is not demotivate their team. And becoming more of a multiplier means beginning to think in terms of questions rather than answers. So many leaders feel pressure to have the answer, to tell people what to do. And what we find is the best leaders have the questions, not the answers. One of my favorite ways to speed this process of learning is to try what I call the extreme question challenge. Can you lead something by only asking questions? I was actually given this challenge a number of years ago. I was complaining really to my friend that I had become a bit of a bossy mom at home. And he said, and I explained to him what bedtime was like. Kids, put that away, leave that alone, come over here, get your pajamas on, come here for a story, go to bed, say your prayers, And he said, Liz, why don't you try talking to your children only in the form of questions? No statements, just questions. And literally my first response was, imposible. I can't do that. I get home at 6 o'clock and they don't go to bed till 9:30. But I decided to take his challenge. And I went home that night and I committed that all I was going to do was ask. And a small miracle happened in my house. When we got to bedtime, I just simply looked at my watch. I said, kids, what time is it? Well, Mom, it's bedtime. Well, what do we do at bedtime? Where do those toys belong? Who needs help getting their pajamas on? Who's going to be the first to get ready for bed? What story are we going to read tonight? What do we do after story time? And then, who's ready for bed? And suddenly my kids who had been delaying this for all the previous nights, they were excited to go to bed, and they got in their beds, they stayed in their beds, and I'm left alone wondering, how long have they known how to do this? And for me, this is symbolic of what happens in organizations. So many times the managers, the leaders, are telling people what to do and trying to assert their will on an organization. And when leaders shift out of that mode of having the answers and telling people, and they start to ask the questions, they very quickly find out that the people around them already have the answers. They
That's
know
right.
what to do. And I think, Javier, it's probably the simplest, most powerful way to lead more like a multiplier is start to ask the questions that provoke thinking in other people. Ask the questions and then create pressure for other people to find the answers.
In a sense, it's like playing the role of a good coach, right?
It's playing the role of a really, really good coach or a really, really good educator
Okay.
who doesn't just ask empty questions. They use all of their knowledge and their skill and their expertise that they've developed. They use it to formulate the exact right question that will help people see things differently, unlock new possibilities, and innovate.
And from your perspective, what are the, let's say, 2 or 3 behaviors that they have to avoid not to be a diminisher?
Well, I think probably the biggest behavior to avoid, they're all positives. And I think the one where we find most people have an accidentally diminishing effect is that we tend to help. You know, we think that a good manager should be helpful. And we often talk about a manager or a leader's job is to remove obstacles. I hear that a lot.
That's right.
And I actually think, you know, when a leader or a teacher or a parent removes an obstacle, they've done the heavy lifting. They built muscle. But the people that they just removed that obstacle for haven't. It's like being a good parent. You don't want to remove all the obstacles. You want your children to learn how to do that for themselves. And in the workplace, when the manager clears the way and removes obstacles, it denies people the chance to contribute 100%
Right.
and to do the hard work. So the number one behavior I would avoid is rescuing people and helping people who really should be left to struggle just a little bit
That's right.
or a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Liz, and I think that we have a great options how to become a multipliers, not only for our work. We are talking about good examples about multipliers in your family. So it's a huge responsibility to create that concept in order to provoke our kids to become at the highest of their potential. Thank you very much, Liz, and we will have a chance to talk later on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.